Hello and welcome to the Corner 3 Show. My name is Alex.
My name is Zach.
And Ross is in Las Vegas, as our Twitter Periscope followers must know, so look out for those broadcasts in the future. But we're back, baby.
We are back.
Pacers riding a 3-game winning streak, feeling kind of good. Again, ebbs and flows with the Pacers. Never get too high, never get too low. It's kind of like hit and miss with this team. But let's quickly get to this recap here of the past few games. So we had that TNT game last Monday. I think it was the first of the player broadcast games. Reggie was in the house. Quick recap, I guess, if we really want to relive that game. But just a really, a bad effort for the Pacers. The boos came down. We can talk about that in a second. We had a 12-point lead after one, and then quickly we're down by 4 at half, and then just couldn't make our way back.
Yeah, it's one of those games where you thought, the Pacers, big home game, prime time, Reggie's in the house, crowd's going to be into it. Let's get this W. I predicted the win. I had them going on a 4-game winning streak. They ended up losing 109-103. As you brought out the boos, the crowd let them know. The crowd let them know that they weren't happy about it. And players didn't really take too much care for that.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So after the game, Paul George, he's never been shy to talk to the media about how he feels, whether it be last year with, playing the 4 and, what's expected of him from a leadership role. But after the game, quote unquote, they pay their money. Their hard-earned money to watch us play. They got that right to do whatever they want. It doesn't hurt me. It doesn't hurt my feelings. Just know we work harder off of cheers than boos. Okay, let's hear your reaction first.
I don't. He can say what he wants. I don't mind it. He's got a point. But at the same time, if you're coming out there and you're not giving the effort that the fans are expecting to see, because they've been so inconsistent this year, you can see why the fans can do. I know one person, I think you had a discussion with somebody on Twitter about why are the fans upset? They're like 16 and like 8.
Yeah, Matt Moore from CBS, yeah.
But, just because we're good at home doesn't mean the Pacers don't watch them on the road.
Yeah.
If they're sucking on the road and you come home and you suck against the Knicks, well, we're going to let you know.
Exactly. So. And, Pacers fans, this is Indiana. And what's the saying? In 49 states, it's just basketball, but this is Indiana. We know our basketball through and through. It's not like we can't tell a poor effort. But, like you talked about last week when you were in Boston, and if you ever get a chance to sit up close, this game is so much more physical than you ever realize watching on TV. These guys are huge. These guys could be football players if they really wanted to. They take a beating every night, but you can definitely tell the difference as we've seen these next few games between that Knicks effort and then these next 3 wins that we had.
Yeah. And obviously, we did keep that streak going. The next game we played against the T-Wolves, Pacers won 109-103. Before that game, Paul George was named to an All-Star reserve. But this is really what started the streak of Paul George the last couple games, averaging over 31 points a game. He's playing pissed off.
Yeah.
And you know what? We need that from Paul if we want to continue to win. We need him to step up and take over for this team. I don't know if he's because, he's mad at the fans for booing him. Well, you know what? Maybe that's what he needed to get him going.
Yeah. And who knows what exactly spurs him on, but this is the Paul George. These past 3 games, this is the Paul George that we saw against Toronto. Probably the best player. No, was the best player in the first round of the playoffs last year. Yeah. And if you were to choose like an all-tournament team like they do in the NCAA and high school basketball sometime, I think he would have made that all-playoff team.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The way he played. But one thing I really liked, he's attacking the rim. He took Wiggins to the hoop. He's settling at a really high rate this year for jump shots. We talked about that last week. But he's playing hard. He's attacking now. Yeah,
and when you get the effort from him off of that, plus you have Teague and Miles Turner coming up big, you can see what this team is able to do. Obviously, the biggest weakness that people have noticed lately, though, is the bench. Monta and Brooks both had 0 points that game. If we're going to do anything, even be somewhat competitive in the playoffs, we definitely have to address the bench issue.
Definitely. But I think this is a theme that we'll see here. We'll talk about this in the next few games here. But I made a note, this 3-headed monster, we talked about this in November when Turner, Teague, and PG get going and they have strong games, the rest of the team can have these lackluster efforts there. Brooks and Ellis, you're starting, your bench backcourt with 0 points total. But when these guys are on their game, the rest of the team, they can carry them, which is important.
Yeah, which is what we need.
And then moving on there, Ross was at this game, so maybe he can give us a little bit of an inside info after he comes back here. But the Pacers with a big win against the Kings, 115-111. Kings shooting the lights out of the ball all night.
Yeah.
Collison with 26.
Yeah, both saw the same thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. But first win in the Hickory jersey is always nice to get a win in those bad boys. But again, this three-headed monster.
Yeah, it's weird that both the times they played the Kings, they've had to come back.
Yeah.
And pull it out of their butts to get the win. But Paul George taking over late once again. He needed being aggressive, showing everybody why he can be dominant. Again, as we saw in the playoffs last year, we know what he can do. It's just can we see the consistency from him? He had 33 points. He went to the free throw line 17 times, I think. Mm-hmm. And then there was a couple issues with that game. Obviously, there was a lot of three-pointers attempted by the Kings, wide open. It seemed like that's just people over pursuing, not hedging off the screens the correct way. That's something that can be addressed, in practice and in watching film. But I'll take a win when I can get it.
Exactly. I mean, 16 of 17 from the free throw line. Ross has been talking about how well he's been shooting from the free throw line this year. Again, Teague 17, 8, and 8. Just playing when those three are together, playing their game. Pacers are a tough team to beat.
Oh yeah. And then moving on to the last one, Pacers 120-101 over the Houston Rockets. I called this. I was making fun of last week in the podcast because I said Paul George would show that he is a superstar and that he would show what he can do. I was made fun of for it.
You called it.
And I was right. So
you called it.
But that was a big win. It was pretty much, it felt like they had controlled the whole game, even though you'd see a little bit of spurt from the Rockets. They would get it within the single digits. Pacers would get it back into double digits. It pretty much felt in control the whole game, which is weird to say because it hasn't been a game like that all year for the Pacers.
Yeah. I mean, I think best win of the season probably.
It was pretty good. I mean, that was you're beating what, they number 2, they're number 3 in the West right now.
3 in the West, but I mean, just playing at a really high level.
Mm-hmm.
They might even be second. I can't even. I got to check again, but just an overall game, overall really good effort from everyone because the defense came, and when the defense plays like that, their offense falls through. I mean, you talked about it in your post game report, which we're going to try and do every post Pacers game, win or lose. Even though they've been winning since we've been doing it. So we're 2-0 post-game reports, so maybe they'll just win out the rest of the season. But total effort, and they're shooting the ball really well. I think it goes 57% to 41%, something like that.
Yeah, 56 to 41, 64 to 40 in the paint.
Yeah, I mean, just a great shooting effort, which is something. And CJ Miles at 0 points, too. So in a game where we shoot that well, CJ Miles still has all those points.
Yeah, and LaVoy Allen went 5 for 5 with 10 points. Who would have thought
helps.
that?
Yeah.
So, I'll take the W when we can get it.
And then again, three-headed monster. PG-13, 9-3. Teague 17-15. Turner 18-10, and then 4 blocks. So when these guys are on their game, the whole team is better.
Yeah, definitely.
And go ahead.
No, you can go ahead. I was
going to say a side note. GR3 probably with his best game since Paul George was reinserted or came back from his injury. Yeah. I mean, he's been struggling. I think he had 14 points, but he's been struggling to try to find his role there. And I guess with Stuckey coming back, it sounds like tomorrow night, it'll be interesting to see what Nate does with that lineup change.
Yeah. Is it going to be Stuckey getting more playing time? Is it Ellis and Brooks getting their minutes cut back? Is it GR3 getting his minutes cut back? Who knows? I know I've seen some people on the boards and Twitter suggest that Brooks should have his minutes cut back significantly. For Stuckey, but problem with Stuckey is he's got to be healthy.
Yeah.
And he can't stay healthy. So.
And the thing is, with that second unit, it's not really like we're running like a motion offense. It runs through Big Al, and then we kind of play off of him. So it's not like you need a pure point guard running that second unit. So Stuckey, could fit in well there with Ellis. So I think it's going to be Brooks, but we'll see. Yeah. Which kind of leads into our fan question of the show. At Ryan Barnett asks, do you think the Pacers can move Monta Ellis? So can or will? Let's go can first.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure somebody would take him for a bag of chips or something. But I don't. I think they can move him. The problem is he hasn't been playing well lately. He's obviously got some value. People know he can score. If he has the ball in his hands, and he's predominantly the ball handler. But I just with the injuries to Stuckey and him not being able to stay healthy. Earlier, like a couple weeks ago, I would probably say they would trade him. But with the inconsistency of the bench and Stuckey being injured all the time, I can see them hanging on to him unless there's a deal out there that he has to be packaged in to get something like, these crazy rumors for Ibaka, which aren't going to happen. But
yeah, I agree. I mean, I think they could move him at some point, but as you said, actually, it's a great point. there's so much instability there at that 2 position because, first of all, CJ Miles is, we're kind of trying this out with him as a starter. I think it'll stick. But, there's not much stability there. And with Stuckey always injured, it doesn't really make much sense, I guess, to trade away your veteran guy who you signed just 2 years ago to a 4-year deal.
Yeah. So, obviously they can. Do I think they will? Probably not, unless it's a package deal for someone that you have to throw them in for.
I agree.
Obviously, with this 3 out of 4, the Pacers are 25-22 now, 6th in the East, 2 games behind Washington, and then 2 above the imploding Chicago Bulls.
Ooh, they are imploding.
They are imploding.
Imploding is the perfect word.
That's an interesting team. I did not expect that to happen for them.
You really didn't expect that?
I didn't expect
with those 3 guys like that?
I didn't. Rondo, yeah, but not with Wade and Butler. Wade's usually a pretty good teammate.
I guess so.
I know a lot of the young guys are not happy he's not practicing a lot, but
it's a weird team. And you look at, I follow Dwayne Wade on Snapchat, which I guess is the best way to get insider info nowadays in the NBA world. But he's never really with the team. Even when he's traveling with the team, he's not really with the team. He's doing his own thing there. Obviously things went south for him in South Beach. And, he signs with the Bulls, his hometown team. But, do you really think he feels like he's a part of this group? His heart's still in Miami. I guarantee you his heart's still there.
It is. But we'll get that. We'll probably get into that more in our general NBA talk section. We just get sidetracked because, it's fun talking about the Bulls being bad. So
it is.
Yeah. But one of the big stories this week was obviously Paul George complaining equals Paul George leading. He went from complaining about earlier a couple weeks ago about the fouls not being called. Then he went to the fans booing him. Mm-hmm. Well, now, you know what? You're going to get the fouls called if you're aggressive. You're going to get to the free throw line. And when you're aggressive, the fans are going to see that, and they're going to cheer for you. So, you know what? Aggression and showing that you're trying, you solve 2 issues. You'll get to the free throw line, and the fans will be happy with you.
Yeah. And I think Paul George realized that, he could have brought more in these past few, in the games, the Knicks game and the games before that. Scott Agnes tweeted that PG said, "This should be me every night until the season's over," and that's the mindset you have to have there. Yeah. I think PG sometimes thinks too much about his leadership and his role and what he's supposed to do, what he's supposed to say, how he's supposed to act. Just play your game. When he was at his best was when in the playoffs, when there's if you're gonna lose, you go home. So all he's thinking about is winning. He's not thinking about the press or what people think. With these past few games, the Pacers were on a downward trend, so it's like you just got to win now. So he just puts his head down and goes to work. When he does that, they're tough.
Yeah, and maybe that's him trying to be a good teammate, worrying about making sure he's not going crazy and taking too many shots, making sure everyone's getting their chance. But at the same time, if you want to be an all-star player, known as a superstar player, do you think Russell Westbrook or even when Kobe was playing or any of these guys, they cared about who was getting their shot? No, they were doing what they could to win.
Yeah.
Taking over games when they had to. So he's got to have that killer mentality still. He's got to keep it going.
Yeah.
Obviously, they got a game tonight. We can see where that's going to go to. But
they play tomorrow night, right?
I thought they played tonight.
They play tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night? Today's Tuesday.
Yeah, today's Tuesday. Sorry. No problem. Zach's a little under the weather, people.
I'm sick, but I showed up.
Give him a break. He showed up, baby.
Yeah.
Ross, meanwhile, is a couple thousand miles away in Vegas. Seeing Penn and Teller tonight. Got to give me a break.
Oh, I thought it was Siegfried. I was wrong. Oh, well.
No, I don't know. Might have seen, that was probably last night.
Yeah. I don't know if they're even performing anymore.
Who knows? Anyways, Jeff Teague also has been on a tear recently, averaging 10.3 assists in his last 15 games, while George Hill only had 6+ 10 assist games as an Indiana Pacer.
His whole career there.
Whole career in Indiana.
That's crazy.
He's not getting it's funny. George Hill right now is like the praise of hipster NBA.
Yeah.
Oh man, how could the Pacers let him go? He's playing at such a high level. Meanwhile, I think Jeff Teague has missed 1 game this year, and George Hill's missed at least 6 or 7.
Oh yeah, he's been injured, yeah.
And Jeff Teague perfect for this offense. Great ability to find guys, when they need a shot, not just when they're open. If he sees someone who needs to get going in the offense, he'll get Thad going, he'll get CJ going. and everyone is complimenting him up and down the roster.
Well, because he's a playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, George Hill, he's a combo guard. He's not a true point guard. He can play good defense. He'll get you some buckets, get a couple assists, but he's not. When you watch Jeff Teague, you see him drive, and he'll get a guy in the air, and all of a sudden he throws it, around the guy for a quick dunk, or he'll throw it to the side for a quick 3-pointer. He's making plays. It seemed like with George Hill, especially with back in the day with Lance Stevenson and the finals teams, it was a lot of pound the ball, dribble it out, wait for someone to set a pick, and throw up a last-second shot. This is more of a consistent flow in offense. I don't know if that's because Teague with McMillan coaching and not Vogel's style. It could be a mix of the two, but it's nice to see a point guard play like a point guard for the Pacers for once.
Yeah, it definitely is. And another point I had here is, each night it hasn't been a consistent effort from everyone else other than the three-headed monster there of Turner, Teague, and PG. But if you look at the past few nights, the box scores there, against Houston, you had Glenn Robinson. Yeah. Against the Kings, you had C.J. Miles. Mm-hmm. Each night, it's someone else other than those three stepping up. Tomorrow night, I really expect Thad Young to, bring those big Orlando bigs away from the basket and attack. But I just think every night, if we have those three solid main guys, then if you just have one more complimentary player who has a really good night, maybe about 15 points, I think this team is really, really, really tough.
Yeah, definitely. And that brings up, beginning of the year, we weren't expecting, I'd say the first 4 or 5 weeks, the defense was terrible.
Yeah.
And that could be new guys, inconsistency. But their defensive game has stepped up. So now that they are I think they're in the top half of the league now in defense.
That's huge.
That's huge. You don't have to, like Paul George said last night, I'm trusting Miles Turner like I'm trusting Roy Hibbert now.
He means like 2013 Roy Hibbert, not 2014
Roy
Hibbert.
Verticality Roy Hibbert, the one that...
Verticality, I like that. Verticality Roy Hibbert.
Verticality Roy Hibbert, not bench player and going crazy Roy Hibbert. But, it's all about trust. These guys are getting used to playing with each other and knowing who's going to take the shot. C.J. Miles can knock down the shot at the end of the game to keep you in it. Obviously, he did that versus the Kings. Yeah. So it's good to see those guys doing what they can.
Yeah, it's good to see, everyone coming full circle here. This is the team, these past 3 games at least, and we don't want to get ahead of ourselves because who knows? Next week, same thing. I mean, same issues we've had in the past could come back up. But when this team plays like they were built to do and how McMillan has been coaching them, they're pretty tough. I mean, this is the team that we thought could, crack a maybe even top 4, top 3 spot in the East.
Well, I think I saw something that said if the Pacers had won like 3 more or 4 more road games and beat like one of the teams at home that they should have beat, like the 76ers or something, they would be like in 3rd right now in the Eastern Conference.
I mean, they've had some really bad losses, but some really good wins, and nothing really in between there. So they really need to just I just saw Pat Boylan tweet today that their next 3 or 4 opponents, really bad records. So, and then the rest of the schedule for February is really tough. I mean, almost like I think it's 8 or 12 teams. 8 to 12 teams are over 500 at this moment. So they have to take advantage of these bad teams, just closing games out and winning. You just got to win some games and get ready for the playoffs.
Exactly. Let's see. Well, I don't know if you want to keep talking about Stuckey or just want to move on to
we'll pass on Stuckey. Okay. We kind of talked on him earlier, but we're just interested to see what happens with the rotation.
Well, speaking of upcoming schedule, the Pacers on February 1st tomorrow night will be playing at the Orlando Magic. This is one of those games where you think, oh, yeah, we should win this one. But the inconsistency in the Pacers could show up. A lot of things going on with the Magic right now. Is there going to be a trade made? I saw that they're shopping Ibaka, and one of the rumors is that the Pacers are interested, which I don't know who we could give up without hurting the team for Ibaka.
Probably Ellis Young and like a pick. But keep in mind, he's only signed for this year too. So the thought that he is or the fact that he is on the rumor mill right now suggests to me that he doesn't want to re-sign with Orlando. And if he doesn't want to sign with Orlando,
what makes him want to sign with Indiana?
Yeah, other than, if PG gets locked up this summer for a huge contract. But right now, I know that the Pacers, it doesn't make sense, first of all. Why would the Pacers go out, trade for Serge Ibaka, and put the PG signing extension this summer in jeopardy? Yep. So, and the Teague extension. We have 2 players we have to resign this summer.
Yeah. Let's see. For this one, I forget what our record is now. I think I've got a bigger cushion. Since
It's 25. Oh, your actual choose 'em record.
Yeah, choose 'em record. But
well, the Magic are 19-30. They've got all these bigs still. Fournier is their best scorer right now. Peyton's actually playing his best basketball of his career thus far. But Vogel is struggling, and the roster doesn't make any sense. The fact that they haven't tried to make another move is kind of surprising.
Yeah. I'm going to take I think the Magic will pull this one out.
Oh, honestly. Really?
I'll take the Magic over the Pacers on this one.
I've got the Pacers here. I just think that the Pacers are playing really well, and the Magic don't really have an identity. Moving on here, we've got the Nets, 9-38. Nets are the only team pretty much out of playoff contention. So as of yesterday, they're 13.5 games out of the 8th spot, while Phoenix, who are last in the West, are only 6.5 games out of the 8th spot in the West. Mm-hmm. So they're done. And Jeremy Lin's out again. There's no reason the Pacers shouldn't win this game by 30 points.
Yeah, I'm taking the Pacers.
All right, good.
The only thing I was wondering is if you're that bad and you see a guy like Yogi Ferrell doing well for the Mavericks, why did the Nets give up on him?
I know. Well, I mean, they talked so high about him when he was on the Nets, and we'll get in this more on our general NBA show too, talking about Yogi. But at the same time, they talk so highly of him when he was on the team, and then they go out and the reason they cut him was because they went Spencer Dinwiddie, a guy who's been he was a great player at Colorado, went to the Pistons for the summer league, an okay player there, then got cut. I don't understand it, especially when you're kind of trying to build something there and not just win a couple games during the season. I think Yogi is a great backup point guard to kind of build off of, and who knows, maybe starting. Who knows? After last night, we'll talk about that later as well.
Find out the 10-day contract.
Yeah.
Next up, actually back to back, so the end of the game, the weekend trip would be versus Detroit.
Shout out Jake Masters. Big time Pacers fan.
He's probably watching this right now. We're not even paying attention to the messages, but this will be like I said, the end of the back to back.
I've got some bad news though, Zach.
What's that?
I checked and our Twitter live thing stopped after 10 minutes.
It only does 10 minutes?
No, I think we might have just lost the Wi-Fi connection.
We are in a base.
We are in a base. Oh, actually, you don't know where we are. We're going to keep it that way. I'm just kidding.
Wait, I'm not in my mom's basement.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on here. Yes, Detroit.
Detroit, 21-26. They're a team that you think, with the pieces they have with Drummond, they could get in the playoffs, but I think they're currently in 10th place. Yeah. I have the Pacers winning this one. It's a home game. We play well at home. And Detroit's they're just not playing good right now. Their defense is bad. And they really don't have anybody to count on besides Drummond right now. So
Reggie Jackson's been inconsistent.
Yeah.
Stanley Johnson's been inconsistent. Morris has been inconsistent. I think I saw just a couple days ago that the GM came out, or the GM or the president came out in support of Van Gundy, even though that, last year they were in the 8th seed, gave some trouble to 8th or the 7th seed, gave some trouble though to the Cavs in the playoffs. Just a little bit of pressure there. I'm surprised they're taking a step back. I know Jackson didn't start the season healthy, but still, I thought that they have some really good athletes on that team, and Van Gundy's all about defense. So Who knows?
So you're taking Pacers?
I got the Pacers too.
Okay.
Moving on now, we've got OKC, a little Westbrook action here, potential MVP candidate. So we've got two in just over a week here at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. And all we have written down here for OKC is Westbrook, because that's the only player on their team at this point.
Pretty much, because Cantor was an idiot and broke his forearm.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you see that Kyle Singler missed reverse layup the other night? It's bad. It's bad. I mean, what are they in their last 10 here? I'm going to take a quick peek.
6-4?
6-4 in their last 10. Are they a team you think that could kind of fall out here if they don't make a move to try and actually make a playoff run? Because the thing is, Westbrook has to know that he's not making a playoff run with this team, especially with Cantor out. There's no way. There's no one on this team who can really help them move forward.
Well, I mean, they're only a half a game ahead of Memphis for the 7th seed.
Yeah.
So
Memphis hasn't been playing well of late either.
No, I think they will make the playoffs, but who's to say that if Westbrook was to have an injury, even if he's out for
shut it down
3 or 4 games, those 3 or 4 games, they have no way to carry that team. They'll be right in the heat for the 8th seed.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If they continue to stay in the 6th, 5th area, I see they keep playing. But if they get to the point where they have to bench Westbrook because he's injured or something, and they lose a couple games, there's no point because you're going to be the 8th seed versus the Golden State Warriors.
And they're going to get trounced.
And they've been trounced every time they played against them, so there's no need for it.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to diminish Westbrook or anything, but also one thing about him, he's not a guy who's just going to let himself be shut down for the season. He's going to want to play every night. I mean, he's still averaging a triple-double, and right now I'd probably say Harden is the front runner for MVP, so he probably wants that this year. We'll see what happens. Who do you have here at home?
At home, I'm going to take the Pacers.
Pacers again. All right.
I got them going 3-1.
3-1. I'm actually going to take the Thunder here, so I have them going 3-1 as well. I think 4 wins is a lot for the Pacers, unfortunately, in a row. But let's to end the Pacers show here. Let's go a little bit big picture. Do you think that this? So you have them going 3-1. So this would be 6-1 in their, or 6-2 in their last 8, if what we predict pans out here, because they've been 3-1 in the last 4, and then another 3.
Yeah.
So, do you think that this is something that they're going to sustain for the rest of the season? Do you think that maybe this whole booing thing and PG kind of taking this mantle, because he hasn't had a run like this all year, these 3 games. Do you think that they're going to move on?
It's hard to say because they can't. You think every time we talked about this, they have a run. They won 4 games in a row a couple weeks ago. The team was playing well. We thought they hit their stride. Then they lose like 3 games in a row. It's hard to tell if this team. It's like they get yelled at by the media or the fans. They change their ways for a couple games, and then they go on another losing streak.
Yeah. Do you think this is a roster issue? Do you think this is a coaching issue? What do you think it is?
I think it's a little bit of both. Like I said, I like McMillan, but I wasn't a fan of the hiring from the beginning.
Yeah.
I wanted somebody else. But the issue that they have is their bench is so bad right now.
Yeah.
They can't. If you had the big 3 do good every night, and maybe C.J. Miles step up or Thad Young do something, that's fine. But your bench is so bad. Monta Ellis and Brooks are playing terrible. Jefferson can score for you, but his defense is not there.
No.
And then Glenn Robinson, he's been pretty inconsistent lately.
Yeah.
Even if they went 3-1 in the next 4 games, that puts them at 28 and 22. I think we might be in the 4th, 5th spot.
Yeah.
But they've just been so inconsistent. I can't rely upon them. And I think over the next week we'll decide if they make a trade or not. Is what I think.
I agree here. I mean, we've still got another 2 weeks till the All-Star break. So if they can finish out these last few games strong, I mean, Cleveland went 7-8 in January. Boston is now in the 2 seed. Toronto is struggling as well.
Yeah.
There's no reason for the Pacers not to solidify themselves as a top 4 team in the East. I know Washington is playing really well, but still, I think the Pacers are far better than Washington, especially in the front court there. All right. I think we feel pretty good about the Pacers right now, but who knows? We'll have to catch you next week. I guess you got to take Ross's thing.
Oh, I'm about to forget. Where are we at? Facebook? Whatever it's called.
Are we on Facebook?
Yeah,
What's Facebook?
Ross.
We love you, Ross.
You can find us on Instagram, Snapchat. I'm not Snapchat, Twitter.
Shouldn't do Snapchat.
Yeah, we should. Also, obviously, Facebook. We have YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play. We're pretty much everywhere. So
yeah,
hit the like and subscribe button.
Also, look out for our post-game reports. We're doing those. Try to post them about an hour or less after the game. Just want to give the fans a quick recap of what happened, not just the highlights. We want to let you know what actually happened, and then a quick preview of the next game. So look out for those. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram to see those every night. All right, I think that does it. Thanks for watching.
Peace.